You've found Wickett on Wisconsin, your one-stop podcast for all things Packers, Brewers, Bucks, and the rest of your favorite teams from all over the state of Wisconsin. We're powered by Wisconsin Sports Heroics, online at wisportsheroics.com and the Wisconsin Podcast Association. And now, here's your host, Mike Wickett.
Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Recording this on December the 29th. Almost 2022. You know the old phrase. My co-host here on my radio show, she always says, don't you hate it when people say, can you believe it's already fill in the blank, month, whatever? Can you believe it's already going to be 2022? Yeah, I can. Been a busy 2021. Been a great 2021. Before we get into the Packers and the Browns and then the Packers and the Vikings and the rest of the NFC, I do want to give a quick shout-out to Jake with wisportsheroics.com. Jake Ceriani is going to be leaving at the end of the year, so in like 40 hours or whatever. He's got other priorities that we wish him nothing but the best on and a new change for him. So a thanks to Jake from me, because Jake and I began talking about me writing for wisportsheroics.com a couple of months ago, and I jumped at the opportunity. You know, it was really, really, really cool to be a part of this, and then he and I started talking about me doing the podcast and bringing it back for wisportsheroics.com, and the whole team at Wisconsin Sports Heroics has been great. So, Jake, good luck to you, man. Thanks for letting me be a part of this, and who knows? We'll see you down the road. Maybe we'll see you at Lambeau. Who knows? So speaking of Lambeau Field, on Christmas Day, it was great. I was out on my deck. I had the Bucks game on a TV, on a new TV mount that my mom got me for Christmas. I said, what do you want for Christmas? Mom, I want to drill a TV mount into my pergola so I can watch football outside. And I didn't think that was going to happen until like next September, you know, when we get football back and it's not cold. But we haven't had the bitter cold and the, buckets and buckets of snow. So I sat outside on Christmas Day. I had a bowl of soup that my mother-in-law made, this whole pot of soup for us, and I'm watching the Bucks game early, and then the Packers game came on right after. It was great. It was fantastic. Was it the best Packers game you've ever seen in your life? No, it was not the best Packers game you'd ever seen in your life, because the Packers were fortunate to come out with a win, lucky to come out with a win in some people's minds. I don't think that way. You see a lot of national pundits, people who host national radio shows, guys like Colin Cowherd, and I think Cowherd does a good job. I think he is a really good host. But if you've ever heard me talk about power rankings, I think power rankings are ridiculous because everything changes week to week in the NFL, and if we just... These guys sometimes go as the wind blows, 3 weeks ago, in Cowherd's mind and in a lot of people's mind, the Packers were head and shoulders above everybody in the National Football League because they were getting these wins like I've been telling you all year. They're getting these wins. They're churning out wins, and they're doing it without David Bakhtiari and Jair Alexander, and for most of the year, Zadarius Smith, and they lose Aaron Jones, and they lost Rodgers for a game, and go down the list of guys that have gotten hurt for this team. And they just keep on trucking out wins, Boom, boom, go to Baltimore, win. Doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden they have a close game against the Cleveland Browns, and all of a sudden people want to start poking holes against or inside the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, Nick Chubb had a great game. That is a desperate Cleveland team, and if they had better quarterback play, there's a real good shot they'd win that football game. But lucky for you, lucky for me, lucky for the Green Bay Packers, Baker Mayfield sucks. I have no idea what Baker's future is going to be. You want to talk about a guy who, by all the standards, has been a bust in the NFL. And he's been fine. The record's about 500 as a starter, maybe a game below, maybe a game above, I don't know. He's thrown some touchdowns. He's had some bad interceptions. But when you're the number one pick in the National Football League draft, you aren't expected to be a 500 guy. You aren't supposed to be a guy in year 4 where people are like, I don't know. Should we give this guy another contract? If you're the number one pick in the National Football League, you're supposed to, at this point, have been to the playoffs, maybe sniffed a championship game, and had a look perhaps at a Super Bowl. And I know the standard is Patrick Mahomes, but that's setting the bar way, way up here. But by year 3 and year 4, we should know what you are. And whether or not you're someone that can get a big deal, can get a huge contract, can lead a team deep into the playoffs, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, if things go right, get to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. That was the case with Aaron Rodgers. Not the number 1 pick in the draft, but a first-round draft pick. And that's the way it'll be for Mac Jones, and Trevor Lawrence is in such a terrible situation. Zach Wilson's in such a terrible situation. But, Trey Lance, all these big 5 that came out 3-4 years from now, you're going to look at 1, 2, 3 of those guys and say, bust. Because that's what Baker Mayfield is. We knew after a couple of years of Rodgers starting, he's got it. I don't think we knew he'd be the all-time Packers leader in touchdown passes and would pass Brett Favre for that record and go to a Super Bowl. And, well, we expected a Super Bowl, but win the MVP 3 times and, by everybody's measure, is in line to win number 4. I don't think anybody expected that out of Rodgers. And I know what you're going to say. Well, Wickett, what does this mean about Jordan Love? I don't know. This isn't the podcast for Jordan Love. I don't know about Jordan Love yet. You don't know about Jordan Love yet. None of us know about Jordan Love. But I can tell you, after watching Baker Mayfield for the last couple of years, he ain't it, all right? He's going to go to another team. He'll get another shot. Maybe he just needs to change the scenery, get out of Cleveland. Maybe he just needs a new quarterback coach. But I don't know. But he ain't it. And if he was it, if he was a better quarterback, Cleveland may have beaten Green Bay. But Baker threw 4 interceptions in that football game, and Green Bay survived, got out of there with a win. Rodgers wasn't great, threw for 202 yards, threw 3 touchdowns, 2 to Devontae, the record breaker to Alan Lazard, Rasul Douglas with another interception. The guy has been absolutely the midseason find of anybody in the National Football League. I don't think it's tough to argue that anybody else that was acquired by a team mid-season, maybe Melvin Ingram in Kansas City, but it is going to be tough to come up with anybody who has been a better find mid-season in the NFL than Rasul Douglas, acquired by the Green Bay Packers like 7 weeks ago, or however many weeks ago. I mean, it's just been fantastic. Comes up with another pick. Nick Chubb ran all over the defense. Yes, you're right. Hopefully, that lights a fire underneath this defense. Hopefully that is a way for this defense to step up and play a hell of a lot better. Because as of right now, I don't know if Dalvin Cook plays a couple of days from now for the Vikings. I don't really worry about the Detroit Lions, although you never know what happens when you go to Detroit. But when they face these teams in the NFC playoffs, and right now they're the number 1 seed, and should, let's say they see Tampa Bay again and Fournette is healthy, Leonard Fournette running right at you, hit you in the face. He's a lot like Nick Chubb. He's a power dude. He's going to punch you in the face. He's going to keep coming at you, and it's tough to tackle that guy. James Conner has had a tremendous year for Arizona if he's able to get back and healthy. I know he missed a game last week with the heel injury. All these teams in the postseason have guys that can run. Zeke, healthy Zeke, good Zeke, and Pollard in Dallas can run right at you. And don't think for a second. Don't think for a second that the rest of the NFC wasn't watching what happened with Green Bay on Christmas Day and thinking to themselves, we can run through them. We can run over them. We can run around them, because that's what Nick Chubb did, and that was part of the reason why this game was so close. Play that game 10 times, Packers win 9. Maybe they win 10. I don't know. They win 9. Maybe they win 8, because you never know. It can happen. A couple of those balls that Baker threw, maybe they were actually on target. But yeah, I don't take a lot out of that game other than they survived against a desperate team. And someone's going to say, well, Wickett, you're making excuses. No, but this is what a good team does. When they don't play their best, they still come out on top. They've won a lot of one-possession games this year. They've won a lot of games where a couple of balls that go the other way, a couple of bounces, and Green Bay would be in a lot of trouble. They've won a lot of those games. And why are they getting knocked for that? Like, they're doing enough to win football games. Are they dominating everybody? No. Can you cherry pick point differential and games against the Bears and say, well, look, they did it here, and get that hooey out of here, man. This is the best team in the National Football League. Offense, defense, can't say special teams. Can't say special teams whatsoever, because their special teams has been abysmal for most of the year. And that is what probably scares you the most going into the postseason. And I'll talk more about that on another podcast, but briefly, you just get the feeling. It's like when you have a team that doesn't shoot free throws well. You just get the feeling that at some point, poor free throw shooting is going to cost a team. Like, do you remember the Memphis basketball team back in about 2008 that lost to Kansas? They were the number one team in the country, but they were one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the entire nation. And I remember all season long, I kept telling my dad, who was a huge college basketball fan. He's the reason why I got into this. I kept telling my dad, I said, Memphis, best team in the country. Memphis, best team in the country. He said, yeah, but Mike, at some point, they're going to miss free throws, and it's going to cost them. And I said, they'll be fine. They'll run everybody out of the gym. It doesn't matter. And what happened? They watched a 9-point lead evaporate against Kansas because they couldn't hit free throws and lost the national championship. It's almost like you can see it happening with the Packers special teams, whether it is a Mason Crosby missed field goal, whether it is a blocker, someone who's on that line, not keeping Mason free. You know what I mean? Like letting somebody get through at a blocked kick of Mason Crosby's. Letting up a 50-yard punt return or an 80-yard punt return to go the other way. You can see it coming, and I hope I'm wrong, but you can see it coming that at some point the special teams are going to cost the Green Bay Packers. And you can't fire the special teams coach in December. You're not going to go out, get a new coach in, get a new system in. They're going to perfect that system. You just have to hope they can mold and tweak and fix whatever ails in all aspects of the special teams. Up next, Minnesota. A couple of notes about Minnesota. Adam Thielen announced today he's having ankle surgery, done for the year. Sucks because he's a tremendously talented wide receiver. Sucks if you're a Vikings fan. Good if you're the Green Bay Packers. Dalvin Cook, as of right now, on the COVID list, unvaccinated. Cost me a fantasy football championship berth. I digress. But Dalvin Cook, we will assume he'll be back. I think on Saturday he can return and then play Sunday. I believe that will be 10 days for Dalvin Cook. If not, it'll be Madison. The thing that scares me about Minnesota, desperation. Right now, they're the 8 seed. And if they can win and get a little bit of help, then they get into the playoffs. And that's what they want. Obviously, you want to make the playoffs, and this Minnesota Viking team wants to make the postseason because I think I've said this before. Minnesota is like the Chargers. Tremendous talent. You can convince yourself that team can go on a run. They've got playmakers all over. They got a couple of special guys on defense. Why can't they put it all together? Well, as you know, as a Green Bay Packers fan, if you get into the tournament, like in 2010, if you get into the dance, you can go on a run. And I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is going to have that magical run, that damn near perfect run that Aaron Rodgers had in 2010. They got him all the way to the Super Bowl when they beat Pittsburgh. But all you got to do is get in. And they have enough talent between Justin Jefferson, who is going to be great for a long time, along with Dalvin Cook. And Cousins can play well. And KJ Osborne's good. He's not feeling good, but he's good. And they got Barr and they got, what's his name in the secondary. That's a good team. And if they get hot, they can beat anybody. But as we've seen, they can also lose to anybody. The other thing that scares me a little bit about this, well, there's two things. One, Green Bay also lost to this football team, like a month ago. It was in Minnesota. It wasn't at Lambeau. It's going to be cold on Sunday. Don't think a ton of snow is in the forecast for this one, but it's going to be cold. That indoor team coming outside, how will they play? How does that affect Jefferson's game? How does that affect, Kirk Cousins, who has played in a lot of cold weather games, but how does that affect his ability to play? But they have beat them. They have the confidence. They have the momentum. They have the need. They have a team that is desperate over there in Minnesota. Green Bay better be on watch here. This is not an easy matchup, especially if Cook is back. We know what he has done to Green Bay at Lambeau when he had 4 touchdowns a year ago at Lambeau Field. And the other thing that scares me a little bit, if you heard Justin Jefferson's comments after their loss last week to Los Angeles, basically he didn't call him out, but he basically called him out. He called out his offensive coaching staff and said we have to be more aggressive in the red zone. And he's right. There were so many times that team settles for field goals and doesn't go after touchdowns when they're deep. They play very conservative when they're in the red zone. They have one of the most dynamic weapons in the National Football League in Justin Jefferson. The fact that they don't use him more and more is unbelievable. The fact that guy doesn't get the football thrown his way, like the Randy ratio, remember that 1 year in Minnesota? I would do everything I could to get the ball in Jefferson's hands. And for some reason, in the red zone, they don't. They don't get the ball in his hands enough. I mean, when that guy gets the football, he produces. He's scary. He is going to be tremendous for the Vikings for years to come. So that scares me, the fact that all of a sudden maybe they flip a switch and they do get aggressive in the red zone. Do you remember Green Bay's struggles in the red zone in the first half of the year? They haven't been great. They've been good. They've been better because they were so bad. It's easy to say, look, they've dramatically improved. But if the idea from Minnesota is to get more aggressive in the red zone, coupled with the Packers' known struggles in the red zone, that scares me. I still think Green Bay wins. I still think Green Bay knows they control their own destiny, sitting at the 1 seed, sitting in the spot to host a playoff game, the first round of the playoffs at Lambeau Field, and that is ultra important to Green Bay to get the week off for Aaron's toe, to get the week off for guys like David Bakhtiari and Jair Alexander, who are back today and practicing, which is awesome. If you can add Jair Alexander, and it might take him maybe that game against Detroit next week to get warmed up. I don't think he plays against Minnesota, but who knows? But maybe if he can go against Detroit, get closer to full speed. Think about that. Stokes, Jair, and Rasul Douglas in that secondary. That's the best 1-2-3 combo of defensive backs in the National Football League. Back in with Savage and Amos. That might be the best secondary in the NFL. That's scary. And that just might be what they need to get over the hump and get back to the Super Bowl, which would be phenomenal. It would be absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to end the podcast on that good news note that they get Jair back, that they get David Bakhtiari back practicing. Doesn't mean we're going to see him. Doesn't mean we're going to see him against the Vikings. We could see them against the Detroit Lions, but today, as I record this on the 29th, it was their last day to activate those players if they did want to get them back for this season, for the postseason, and they will be able to. Also returning, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He's off the COVID list. He's back and ready to go, so another weapon for Aaron against that defense. That's it. Again, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Please be safe. And a special, R.I.P. to the great John Madden, because I will say that John Madden has more of an impact, or had more of an impact, than possibly anyone in the history of the National Football League over multiple decades. From coaching in the 60s and 70s and winning the Super Bowl, my people at my dad's age, who's in his 70s, he knows John Madden as the coach. If you're like me, I'm 40. I grew up watching John Madden on CBS and then Fox and then NBC. I know him as the broadcaster, or perhaps you know him, as younger people know him, as the video game guy, the franchise, the greatest video game franchise in the history of the National Football League. So when we say we miss you, John Madden, there are millions of people who watch you as a coach, as a broadcaster, and played your video game. I don't think there's a single person who mattered more to more people than the great John Madden. 85, R.I.P., we love you. That's it. Podcast next week. We'll see how much the Packers are really going to have to play against the Detroit Lions in Week 18, which is still really weird for us to say. I think they handle Minnesota, maybe a 9-10-point win somewhere in there. Don't forget, wisportsheroics.com if you want to check out anything about the Packers, the Bucks, the Brewers, Wisconsin. Here with the bowl season rolling out, and we got the college basketball season maybe happening. I don't know what COVID's doing to it. My name is Mike Wickett. Thanks for checking out Wickett on Wisconsin. Have yourself a happy new year. And as always, go Pack, go Bucks, and go Brewers.